Hello ladies and gentlemen, patriots, Brexiteers and everybody who wants to take this country back. I've been asked to do this video for this dedicated site on We Withdraw Our Consent, basically to explain what I did and the reasons why I did it. So first of all, I'd like to introduce myself. Some will know me, some won't. My name is Sean Morris, a dragon, a patriot, and someone who just wants to take back control of their country. So there's my introduction. Now the reasons I did what I did was basically Parliament, in all them wisdom, when the vote was taken to leave the EU, you know, obviously it's been nearly 2 years now, and Parliament have done numerous things to stop this, namely, rather than voiding the ECA Act of 1972, they went for Article 50, which put the power of negotiations really in the EU's hands. And the one thing what made me sort of think about doing what I did and you know, push me to that position was I think it was probably it was 10 weeks ago today actually. I sat there, seen the news, MPs were debating the money side of Brexit, and they were touting, you know, 50, 60, 70 billion pound to hand the EU money just to give us the rights to talk about leaving the EU. And I was disgusted with that, and as a individual citizen of this country, you know, a sovereign person, whatever you want to call me, that's not the issue. You know, I live in Britain. I've never really left Britain, and I love my country, and I hate what's happened. So I sat there and thought, what can I do about it? So in a sort of time of rage and anger, I decided to write a very simple letter where I basically said, you know, that as a free, independent thinking man, I was going to no longer accept what this Parliament was doing with the EU and everything else what's happening in our great nation. So I wrote a simple letter, and I will read the original letter for you, which I've still got here in my book. It was a very simple, it wasn't thought about, it just I wrote it as I was thinking, and I will read you this simple letter. And it says, I, Sean of the Morris family, being of sound mind, hereby swear that on the 23rd day of June 2018 I will be declaring myself a free man, independent from our tyrannous Parliament and the undemocratic EU. On this said date, I will no longer give my support or consent to our Parliament's underhand dealings with the European Union. Furthermore, I request, or should I say demand, that all sovereign powers and rights are handed back to the British sovereign people. Furthermore, I demand that no further monies or agreements are handed over or signed on my behalf by our tyrannous parliamentarians. Failure to comply to these demands will mean that we, the sovereign people of our great isles, will be forced to move for a vote of no confidence in our political system. I am therefore asking all British subjects to join me, Sean of the Morris family, on June the 23rd outside Parliament to declare myself and yourself independent from this corrupt, undemocratic dictatorship. So obviously when I done that, I then decided that obviously I would ask all other citizens in the country if they would like to join me in that action. Now, as a White Pendragon, I had issues that it probably would not be best to do this as a group member, so I resigned my membership from the said group, the White Pendragons, and I did this action as an independent, free-thinking man of these Isles, not as a member of any group, organisation or political party. And I did this so that the wonderful Pendragons would not, I repeat, would not have sort of people attacking them for sanctioning this particular letter, because I knew that it could cause problems with other groups, organisations, political parties, because what I was actually doing was refusing to accept anything that Parliament would do for me and in my name in the future. So I did not want to associate that with a particular group. Understandably, I think it was the sensible way to go. So the reason I did this, like I say, I'd been, since the vote in 2016, and it took them over a year to invoke Article 50, when they could have walked away the day after by voiding the ECA Act. So I was angry with it sort of dragging on, and then as they were talking in Parliament, it became clear that they were going to drag it on for years and years, which was not satisfactory to me and probably most other British people who just wanted them to get on with what they were ordered to do, which was to leave the undemocratic dictatorship, in my view, of the EU. So obviously, once I'd written the rough draft of the letter, I got on to my common law friend, Mr. Taylor, and I asked him to have a look at it, and he went over it, and the letter was rewritten with a few subtle changes to make it lawful, in the sense that as a free, independent thinking man, there is no lawful issues why you cannot do this. You are in your rights to just say, I am fed up with you and I withdraw my support and consent for you to do things in my name. And there was no issues with the legality of all this, so the letter was then produced to its final copy, which most of you have seen these days. It's been out there now for, like I say, 10 weeks. And I then invited every single person in this, Isles, in the British Isles, to send this letter to Parliament, to coincide with June the 23rd, where there was numerous demos, marches planned for that day. So I decided to call it Independence Day. Obviously I have been slated for that, but in my view, if enough people was to get on board with the letter and support the letter as individuals, not as a member of any group, party or organisation, you must put that to one side and think for yourselves as an independent person. And I know most people are tied to particular groups, organisations and parties, but for this particular action, it is very important that you act as a independent, free-thinking person, human, whatever you like to call yourself, citizen, you know, and do it for yourself and your family and everything, and the group thing and the organisation and the party issue must be put to one side for this action, because the only way it will work is if millions of individuals get on board and send this letter to that Parliament and tell them, I withdraw my support and consent as an individual. That is the key. Now, my goals, obviously, for this letter, once it had been put in motion, was it's two-phase, really. The one was to get millions of people to hit the streets on June the 23rd. Obviously, I would like to see 1 million plus people in London march onto Parliament and, you know, let it be known that there's a lot of people in this country who are fed up and they are not happy with what our tyrannous Parliament, not government, Parliament, are doing. They're underhand tactics, they're not listening to the people, they're trying to stop it all ways they can, water it down, tie us to the EU with customs unions and the European Courts of Justice, and still forcing immigration on us. So my view was to get 1 million people onto the streets of London, and also millions and millions of people to send the letter. So that was my aims when I initially did the letter. Some will say a pipe dream, never happened, but if I thought like that, I would never have done it in the first place. So that was the reasons I did it, and my goals are to get millions of people onto the streets of Great Britain, up and down the country. You don't have to converge onto London if you can't possibly do it. Any town and city, your town halls, council offices. I will be in London on that day, 23rd of June. I will be outside Parliament, because another idea what I've put forward since is that symbolically I will be posting a letter through the bars of the fortified fencing of Parliament on that day, and I've invited everybody to do the same. We are sending them recorded delivery, postal date about the 20th of June, because we want all these said letters to arrive on the same day. We don't want them arriving in dribs and drabs. The impact will be in numbers all at the same time. So that was my goals. Now, what I hope to achieve from the letter and the people being out on the streets on that day is a simple one. I want Parliament dissolved. I want Parliament dissolved, and I want a new system put into place. Now, some will not agree with what I am calling for, but I think this is the only way and the fairest way, and I do want the end of party politics. My simple view of things as an uneducated working class man is that party politics does not work. And I think a fairer system would be truly independent MPs who sit and serve the communities they live in. So what I am calling for is the dissolvement of Parliament on that said date, or within a few days, and then work on replacing the party political system with a totally independent system, where all MPs must live and preferably be born in the area that they are representing. There will be a limit on the number of years they are allowed to sit, and they must represent their constituencies that they are supposed to be. So that is my goals. It's a simple goal: dissolve Parliament, replace the party system with a fully independent system where there is no parties, where you haven't got to toe the party line. You sit in that House of Commons, you vote on issues for your people that you are representing. And as you come from that area and you live in that area, you will have that area's best interests at heart. So the decisions you make in that Parliament will be for the people you are representing. Because after all, the MPs are voted by the people, for the people. And at this moment in time, that tyrannous Parliament has completely forgotten how they get into that building and what they are there for. And it's simple: by the people. So it's simple, folks. I've explained the reasons. I've explained why I did it. I've explained what I'd like to see. And I've explained what I'd like to see at the end of it. Dissolvement of Parliament, a new independent system with MPs from the area they live in, for the people from that area. Thank you for watching. I hope you join in this action, and on June the 23rd, this could be our Independence Day. Please send the letter no earlier than the 20th of June, recorded delivery, and if millions of patriotic British citizens, sovereign people of these great islands, join me, Sean Morris, in this action and get onto the streets of our nation on that day, it could be our Independence Day. Thank you for watching, and take care, and I'll see you on the 23rd.